Good evening, folks, and welcome. On the bench tonight I have another offering from Jay over at Jay's Vintage Junk, and this, believe it or not, is an Amstrad. It's an Amstrad TP12 D, and you might be thinking, well, yeah, it's Amstrad. The turntable's plastic, the arms simulating metal, which is technically known as plastic. Nope. This is all metal, even the eggshell, everything, apart from the little ring there. Whoops, let's put it in its rest. Apart from the little the little adjuster ring here, that's plastic. It is on all of them, just about. And the turntable itself, that's actually a solid piece. That's actually practically a solid piece of cast aluminium, I believe, and that's really good and heavy. And the spin down on this is phenomenal. If I unhook the belt and just give you a quick demonstration of the spin down, there we are. Look at that. That'll spin forever, that thing. That's brilliant. Anyway, that's the spin down. Spins down really lovely. It holds its speed quite nicely. It's I've been playing records on it all day, and it's I put a new stylus in. It's got a Shure cartridge in it. It's the M70, the M44/7, which is not a cartridge to be sniffed at. It's quite a good cartridge. Well, actually, it's a very good cartridge. They were used in jukeboxes and everything, M44s. Anyway, all you get on this, it's completely manual. All you get on it is you get your on-off switch, turns your motor on and off. Your speed selection is done by you changing the belt from one pulley to the next. At the moment we're on 45. If I stop it, it's just a matter of putting your hand on the back there, lifting the belt onto the next pulley, turn the motor back on, and there we are. Pardon me, 33 1/3, or dirty 3 1/3 if you're in Ireland. Hello to my Irish viewers, by the way. I like the Irish. They're brilliant people. Really funny as well, and they can take a joke. Not, you know, yeah, but there we go. And yeah, they can take a joke. And what else can I say? The tone arm, as I say, it's just turned out off. It can make you dizzy watching that. It's nice though. The tone arm, as I say, it's all metal. It has a nice action on the. It has nice damping on the there. That won't actually reach the bottom. Doesn't reach the bottom. Doesn't, unless you move it off there, then it will. But we've got an anti-skate. An anti-skate tracking force weight here, which looks a bit like one of Better Lynch's earrings. We've got that, which I've got at the moment set on the. It's set on the middle. You can set this on either the end, the middle, or this end here. You get 3 positions in which you can put that. I've put it in the middle for now. And of course, that's me talking shit again. Anyway, but I just think I think it's actually a really nice turntable. I'm going to refinish it because I think it's worth spending a bit of time and effort on. You know, early indications, as I say that, and I just think it's brilliant. And anyway, I'll let you have a listen. We'll have the Philips Philly Shave twist. I'll let you have a listen, and you can judge it for yourself. I'll move the arm over, make sure there's no crap on the stylus. I put a new stylus in it because the one that was in there I didn't know about, so you know, and Jay probably put it in there because he had this as part of his. I found an article on the Vintage Radio website when I was researching this to try and find what model it was, because it doesn't really say anywhere on it what model it actually is, or I couldn't find it. So I decided to just type in Amstrad Turntable, and I found an article that Jay had written about it, a posting that Jay had written, and it was the same turntable obviously, because there's marks on this that match the photographs, and well, you know, given that Jay's a mate of mine, I recognise his picture, I recognised his face, because he's a mate of mine anyway, and he comes here. I recognised his face, although that face was a bit younger back then. It was, I don't know, I can't remember when he wrote the article, but it was a bit younger back then. And he had it as part of his bedroom setup when he was a kid, so you know, so it's you know, he's owned it for quite a long time before me getting it. And it's younger than Jay is, obviously, but getting back to it, you know, it was nice to find a bit of history and find out a bit about it, and basically it's probably the best product that Amstrad ever made. I certainly think it's nice, and although I'm not in a hurry to replace it with my Garage Zero with it, that'll never happen. I will actually find a use for this. Well, I'm putting a vintage hi-fi together. I'm just short of a tuner now, because I've got a nice Bush Arena cassette deck up on the top of the bookcase up there. I've got a Ferguson one as well, but I'll use the Bush one because I think the Bush one's better. So I'll use the Bush Arena one, and it's more in keeping with this because it's got real wood on it, although this is only chipboard. That was my chair then. Anyway, basically, if you think I'm sat with no trousers on, I've got me shorts on. Anyway, I've got this connected to my leak amplifier, but like I say, this has got a Lenco motor in it. I'm not sure if that's the same company that had anything to do with Goldring Lenco, or Lenco as a whole, or whether it was a separate company called Lenco that made motors. It's spelt the same way. I'll have to do a bit more research and a bit more digging. The main bearing in this is brass. I think it looks brass coloured. I think it is brass. It's nice. I have actually given it a squirt of oil, and I've given the motor a squirt of oil, and there's not really much to service on this. I mean, there's not really much to it. Anyway, let's have the record. Why not? Let's have the Philly Shave twist.
Twist round and round and round like the Philly Shave. Round and round. With that rotary action like the Philly Shave. Round and round. Twist up and down and tilt like it's floating heads. Unique Philly Shave. Twist here, twist there, twist just like it's floating heads. Philly Shave. Floating, floating heads caress your face. Like the softest hair. Stubborn whiskers go without a trace. This personal touch is so unique. Only Philly Shave. It's made for every face by a new technique. Let's twist! Floating heads caress your face. Like the softest hair. Stubborn whiskers go without a trace.
Whichever way they turn,
Now this personal touch is so unique,
only Philly shave.
and it's made for every face by a new technique. Well, now it's made to measure shaving with the Philly shave.
Personal touch,
Your toughest stubble, don't worry, Philly shave.
personal touch,
Here's the modern twist in shaving that a razor never gave. Shave smoother, quicker, closer, with a Phillips,
round and around and around,
with a Phillips.
round and around and around.
I said a Phillips, Philly shave.
Philly shave, Philly shave, yeah, pop, pop.
And that's the Philly shave twist. And yeah, I'm happy with this. It's really, really nice. I mean, it is actually a direct knockoff of the Raga, the Raga Planet. It is a direct knockoff. It's this is designed slightly differently, but it's, you know, the switch is in the same place. The arm looks very similar, but it is a different arm, obviously. You know, they didn't spend that much money, but they spent enough. I mean, that arm, it's got no play in it. It's lovely. There's no play in the bearing. The motor's nice and smooth. It runs lovely. Seems to hold its speed. I've never actually given a turntable a rating before, but because this is Amstrad, oh, before I say that, the counterbalance weight at the back, that works as a weight rather than just as something that you know, is there to look good. It does actually function correctly as it should as a weight. It does let you set the tone arm pressure, the stylus pressure to whatever you want, and I've concurred that with the scales. You know, I'm setting between 2 and 2.5 grams, and the scales show it around about 2. It fluctuates, but they all do that. You know, my scales are not really stylus scales; they're just small scales. But I've got a little dot in the middle, that little black dot in the middle that I use, so that I can put the stylus in the same place all the time. But so I can get really a good idea. But the arm, it's set to like what, 2.5, just under 2.5, and it's nice and light. You know, look at that. You know, it's nice and light. I've never actually given a turntable a rating before, but because it's Amstrad, and because I think it's exceptional quality, because it's Amstrad, I'm gonna give them 10 out of 10. And the reason why I'm gonna do that is because I just can't believe how good this thing actually is. And you know, me and Jay were when he brought it, we were taking the piss a little bit and slagging it off. But you know, it's not. You know, it's not the usual. You know, I mean, if it didn't say Amstrad on the cartridge, and you'd never seen one, it says Amstrad on the eggshell. If I put another eggshell on that, hey up, storm's coming in, folks. A bit of thunder. You know, and if you didn't know, then you know, I could pass it off as anything. It could be anything. There's no branding on it apart from that, and the 2 plastic covers underneath that cover the tone arm wires. There's no preamp in this. It's not one of these things that has a preamp. There's no preamp in this, because if there was, there'd be a power supply going to it, and there isn't. The only power supply is a 2-core cable going to this switch to the motor, because it's an AC motor. There's no preamp in this. You know, so it's always used. It's always used a magnetic cartridge. We thought it might have had a ceramic in from new, because when Jay bought it there was no cartridge in it, but it hasn't. It's always had a magnetic cartridge in it. But the cartridge that's in it now is a Shaw M44/7 -7, and he you know, he put that cartridge in, So I know the cartridge isn't original to it, which is no bad thing because Shure cartridges, I love them, they're brilliant. Not as good as Autophon, but because I have an Autophon in my Zero, but I'm not in a hurry to change my Garage Zero for this, purely and simply because no matter what comes out, as far as I'm concerned, the best is British and the best is Garage, but this is British as well. You know, this would have been made here. This wouldn't have been made in a far-flung corner of Taiwan or China. You know, you can bet your bottom dollar that this would have been made here. I've not found anything to indicate that it wasn't. But like I say, I've never. Look how it grips the record. I'm just holding the edge there, and look at that. Look how them rubbers are still in good condition after all these years. You know, and I'm probably making this out something it's not, but I don't mean to do that. I don't mean to do that. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still Amstrad. But this is as good as Amstrad in turntables. This is as good as Amstrad ever got and was ever likely to get. They only went downhill from this. And I mean, I heard they made a few nice amplifiers back in the day, back in the late 60s and the 70s. I believe they made a few nice amplifiers and tape decks, tuners and stuff. I've never actually owned anything that they actually made. I've never actually owned any really vintage Amstrad separates, hi-fi separates, so I don't know. I'd like to get an Amstrad tuner amp or an amplifier just to maybe do a comparison, do a video on it and see what I do think of it. But you know, like I say, I've got this connected to me leak, and I thought, well, if I'm testing it, if I'm going to mess with this, I may as well put it on the leak. But you might think it's an insult putting an Amstrad turntable on a leak amplifier, but I don't think so. If it was a plastic Amstrad turntable, then yeah, that would be an insult. But this thing just oozes quality. Honestly, folks, it really does. There are going to be those who are going to be critical, but you know, find one and try one for yourself. That's all I can say. I bet it's every bit. I bet it's. I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm going to say it. I bet it's every bit as capable as the Raga Planet that it's based on, that it's a copy of. You know, because I've actually heard that the Raga Planet left something to be desired in quality, but I don't know that for a fact. I've never owned one. I do like the way they've done the turntable on the Planet. These are round instead of these oblongy square things. These are round on that. And the bars here are it's got tube bars here. Tubes here instead of these, but I think this is more durable, to be honest. I think it's stronger. Not that a record weighs anything, but you know, I read a few reviews on this. I did bone up a little bit on my information. One guy said he bought one brand new and it was absolutely shite. He might have got a bad one. You get bad batches. But there again, he might have been an out-and-out sort of anti-Amstrad, or he might even hate Alan Sugar. We don't know. But he wrote up a very bad write-up about it, and someone else wrote up an half-decent write-up. But somebody also made negative comments towards the Raga which this is based on. You know, so... You know, but I had a Raga, and to be honest with you, there was nothing special. I bought one years ago. I bought a Raga Project. Was it Project? I'm sure it was. I can't remember offhand, but it was a Raga anyway. I bought one years ago, and they come in all different colours. And I bought one off a car boot sale. I give a couple of quid for it, and I wasn't over the moon. You know. The only thing I could say about it was it had an Autophon cartridge, which is now in my Zero. But you know, I wasn't blown away by it, to be honest. But yeah, you know, I think this is every bit as good. I don't see any problems. The bearing's nice and free. It was free when Jay brought it. The bearing was free. I just oiled it because, well, you know, that's what I do. I service things. I had to adjust the height on here. Now, to adjust the height on one of these, because it was a bit too low, to be honest. When you lifted the lever up, it was a bit, the arm was a bit too low, and it was actually hang on a minute, Scrap. It was I'm not going out there, and that's going to piss down in a minute. I'll let you out. You can go out on your own. No sense in both of us getting wet. Besides, I'm in my underpants. Not that that's going to make much difference at this time of the morning. Anyway, basically, the way you adjust these, the way I found to adjust it, was undo a little grub screw in here. Just undo a little grub screw down there, just at the base, just in front of the arm, you know, just there. Just undo that little grub screw, and there's another one at the side. Well, I didn't undo the one at the side because then it would have made everything a bit too loose and difficult to adjust. So I undone the one at the front, which was easy to get to, and I got a bit of a cloth and got a screwdriver. I got a bit of a cloth so I didn't mark the finish, and I just got a flat screwdriver and just put it under it and just give it a slight twist, and it just slid up a little bit for the height I needed. Then I just tightened the grub screw back up, and it's now at the height I want it to be, that I think it should be. Hang on. Oh, you can have that, Scraps. I don't need that anymore. My body's finished with it, son. Anyway, you know what I'm going to do with this? I'm going to do a refinishing on it, and I'm going to tone it down a bit because it's a bit bright for me. I'd like it a bit darker. So what I'm going to do? I'm gonna flatten it off with some very, very fine sandpaper. Just flatten it, just so get it back to a smooth finish. And what I'm gonna do, you can buy that wood dye. I'm just gonna get that, put it on a sponge, buy the colour I need, the shade I want, put it on a sponge, and I'm just gonna go over it with that, and then give it a buff up with maybe get some wax and maybe give it a buff up. And the dust cover's in not bad condition. It needs a polish. It spent many years in Jay's cellar, so it needs a polish, and you know, and that's about it. I'm really happy with it. It's you know, as you know, I think I mentioned it in one of my other videos, and I said that we were going to have a bit of a laugh, but to be perfectly honest, you know, I'm struggling to pull this up on anything. If anything I can pull it up on, it's the plastic hinges. It's got plastic hinges on it, but that's all I can pull it up on. I can't find anything else really to pull it up. It's, you know, yeah. You know, it's just, you know, I wouldn't say it was budget. It's above that. I'd put it in the mid-range class. You know, I'm not going to say it's top of the range. It ain't. It's Amstrad, but you know, I'm going to say it's mid-range because I believe it to be mid-range. And I've owned a lot of turntables over the years. I've owned some of the really nice ones, and I've owned some really shit ones, and I've owned more Japanese ones than you can shake a stick at. I've owned quite a few. Different decks over the years, and you know, I've never really got on with them. The only one I've got on with is me Garage Zero, which I'll never sell. And you know, this actually, you know, is not bad. I just can't pull it up on anything really. There's nothing really bad I can say about it apart from the hinges. They would have been nice metal, and so you could maybe have the lid at an angle or something, so it looks better instead of straight up. You know, it would have been nice for them to do that. But saying that, they spent the money, for once Amstrad spent the money where it was needed. You know, where it's supposed to be. They spent the money in building the thing. You know, and putting, you know, they put a nice motor in it. They could have bought a motor from somewhere else. They could have bought a cheaper motor, I dare say, and put that in it. This is, you know, I don't know what Lenco motors are like. I'll have to check it up. But the one in this seems to be more than adequate for the job that it has to do. It could do with a new belt. It's probably the original belt. It could do with a replacement, which it will get. You know, because if I turn it on, so I mean, there's not really any torque in it. I mean, there's enough. I mean, it doesn't slow down or out when the record's playing. There's enough. You know, there's enough there, but you know, you've got to put the correct you've got to put the correct belt on, because I put one on earlier and it was a little bit thicker and didn't quite go around. It didn't quite fill the pulley. Because it didn't fit in the pulley, because it didn't fit in the slot of the pulley properly. It actually increased the speed. It sounded a bit like the Chipmunks on a 45. So, you know, and a 33. I didn't try a 33 an LP on it at that point. I just tried Chaz and Dave, and they sang "Ain't No Pleasing You" very fast. And so I thought, well, I'll put the original belt back on, and that was it, back to normal speed. And the speed on this is very good, and I think it's very consistent. I don't know what the wow and flutter figures are, even. I don't know what the wow and flutter figures are, but I would imagine that they're quite low. I'm hazarding a guess that the wow and flutter on this is quite low. There's no rumble. No rumble I could pick up. I couldn't pick up any rumble. So the bearing's really good. It's like I say, it is a decently made bearing. Hang on. Yeah, that's the third one. I've got an hat trick. Anyway, I wonder why they call it a hat trick when you get 3 in a row. I never worked that one out, but there again. Anyway, I'm going to leave this here because I'm going to let him out so he can have a squirt and maybe get a load off his mind. He might want to empty his casket. Do you want to empty your casket? Dear, do you want to empty your casket? Okay. Well, I'll stand at the door and have a fag and you can empty your casket. Anyway, folks, you know, as I say, if you see one of these and it's going at a decent price, then pick it up and, yeah, have a listen for yourself. I mean, I've always said, and, you know, I've always said, and I know I'm right, you know, the heart of a turntable is the cartridge. I mean, I could make this sound really shite. That's simple. Just stick a Crosley cartridge in it, and that will make it sound like an 80s Amstrad or anything else around about them, you know, or even the 90s one. But this has got a decent Shaw cartridge, you know, a very good Shaw cartridge in it, and you know, it's a good sounding cartridge. This cartridge always gets good reviews. I believe it's discontinued now, this cartridge. You can't get it now, I don't believe. This is the M44/7. Don't think you can get it now. But it's a good sounding cartridge, and the art of any turntable is the cartridge. I mean, you could put this cartridge in a bog standard BSR auto changer, and it would still sound good. It wouldn't be as smooth. I mean, you'd get your normal BSR issues that you get. I mean, it wouldn't fix that, but you know, this hasn't got any issues. I can't find, you know, to be honest, you're all probably going to think that I've had a bang on the head or something, but I just can't find anything to pull it up on. You know, honestly, folks, I just can't find anything, and I'm looking. I mean, you know, the wood. I say the wood. What I really mean is the chipboard or MDF, whatever it is. But you know, it's fake. It's you know, it's a good what? It's a good inch thick. That's all you need. It's a good inch thick. That's all you need. You know, the turntable, it's a good heavy cast turntable, which is what we all like to see. We like to see a good heavy cast turntable. The tone arm, it's nice, it's light, it's got no play in it. It glides across the record effortlessly. It's got a weight that's adjustable. It's got a counterbalance dongle. We call it a dongle. Bet Lynch's earring, it's a dongle. A dongler. Call it a dongler. Because it dangles. A dangler, whatever. It's got one of them on it, and you know, you can even adjust the position of that. So you can have it in different, you know, you can have it in 1 of 3 positions. I mean, yeah. I'm really struggling here, folks. I mean, if anybody can, you know, I mean, the guy, the first guy I read the article on, he said that the motor mounts were terrible. Well, they're not in this one anyway. You know, if I put my hand there, it's dead solid, the motor. No movement at all. I mean, there's a little bit of play in the shaft. Of course there's a bit of play in the shaft. You know, there's supposed to be. They would have been playing the shaft at new. All motors have a bit of play in the shaft. At least it ain't a shitty DC 12 volt effort. At least, you know, like I say, at least they've spent the money where it's done the most good. You know, by using an half decent tone arm and a decent, you know, a decent 240 volt motor with a good heavy turntable, and you know, I mean, what this is basically basic. I mean, this is going back to basics. If you want to look at it that way, it's going back to basics. It's a turntable, a motor, and a tone arm and a switch, and there's no speed mechanism to worry about. Nothing to get gummed up. I mean, this can never get gummed up. I mean, there's nothing in it to gum up. You know, I mean, the turntable on this would never seize on. Well, if it, you know, if it did, I would imagine it'd be, you know, you just warm it up the same way you do with a BSR, because you can get at the bearing from underneath. You know, because this is solid, this and that, everything. I'll show you underneath actually. Let me just put, if I can, let me just turn my amp off a minute. There we go. Right, I'll give you a quick look underneath. And it is solid. I mean, it is, it's absolutely solid under here, folks. I mean, there's the 2 covers I was talking about. That covers your motor, that covers your tone arm wiring and your earth cable for your tone arm wiring. But look, you've got a hole drilled through it there for your armrest. There's your bearing there, your brass bearing. And this channel here was milled out in order to take the wire in for the switch, for the switch and the power cable and stuff. You know, this has all been milled out. This is a solid piece of whatever this stuff is. It's supposed to be chipboard, but is it? Do you know something? I'm beginning to have my doubts on this. Is it chipboard or is it a proper piece of wood? It's chipboard. That's just veneer. But at least it's wood veneer. I can tell it's wood veneer because I can feel it. Because I've done veneering, remember, folks, so I know what veneer feels like. So it is definitely veneer. It's not stick-on Fablon. And it ain't bloody plastic. So at least that's another thing. But I think, you know, I think it's rather attractive. It will be when I'm finished with it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to leave the video here for now, and I'm going to do another video on this when I've done the plinth. I'll sort the plinth out, get the plinth how I want it, and then I'll do another video. And I'll get the dust cover polished up, the arm polished up, this all nice and clean and polished up. Because there's a bit of oxidisation on it, because it's probably spent a few years in Jay's cellar. But that'll all clean off, and you know, yeah. But the rubber strips that are in here, the rubber supports, they're still in fantastic condition. No rot on them, no bits missing out of them. you know, and yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna leave it there because I'm gonna want to let him out. And oh shit on a stick! Oh fuck! Shit on a stick. Everything's falling everywhere. It's all happening tonight, folks. Anyway, you all take it easy, and I'm sorry if I've rambled on a bit. I hope I haven't bored you to death or even to sleep. You all take it easy. I'll catch you later, folks, and join me in my next video, which might be an add-on to me. It might be a follow-up to me soldering tutorial, because there's one thing I forgot to cover, but I'm going to leave that for the next video. You all take it easy, folks, and you know, from me to you, a very, very good night. Catch you later. Bye for now, folks.